drama in D.C., President Obama and House Speaker Boehner's conflict on which day the president will address a joint session of Congress. The final decision Thursday, September 8th. Add to this all the gridlock and indecision on jobs, taxes, the deficit and more. We ask the question, is Washington killing the recovery? Joining us now, Andrew Parmentier, Managing Director with Height Analytics, and Bill George, former Medtronic CEO and author of True North Groups, A Powerful Path to Personal and Leadership Development. Bill, do you think they're killing the recovery?
Yep. They're doing their best, Simon. The regulators seem to do everything they can to kill jobs, and this gridlock could go on, will go on, at least through the election, could go on for 5.5 years. I'm very discouraged. I think most business people are, that no action's being taken. And there's so many things that could be done right now to create jobs if anyone got serious instead of political jousting.
Andrew, is he right?
I do, unfortunately, think that he is right, and this is the classic, scorpion and the turtle situation. Is the scorpion going to sting the turtle halfway across the river, or are things going to be different this time? The Fed clearly told us with the Jackson Hole speech it would like things to be different this time, but I just don't see enough external influence on Washington right now to really drive two completely opposing viewpoints to action on the really, really big issues.
I'm surprised to hear you say that, Andrew, only because it's very rare that the Fed chief basically throws the gauntlet down and says, you guys have to get your act together because you're killing the recovery. I mean, what else, what other external pressure, what would be stronger than the Fed chairman coming out and saying, listen, you guys have got to get this thing together because you're killing the recovery?
Yeah, see, that's a really, really good question. I would just point out a couple of things, and don't get me wrong, I think the Fed's speech was great, and I think it was very on point. The problem is it came after they had already agreed to $1.2 trillion in cuts, and the Fed is calling for a much bigger number, as is S&P, by the way. So you have a process in place that's in direct conflict with what the Fed is asking for, and secondly, this Tea Party movement, you had one problem that grew out of the second. We spent a lot of money to fix one problem. It created a lot of dislocation and a larger role of the government. So to stimulate the economy, whether or not we have actual austerity in place, we have de facto austerity. So Republicans aren't going to sign on to anything that grows the budget deficit, and that's essentially what the president's going to ask for next Thursday. Through infrastructure spending and a number of these jobs proposals. I think that these guys are at a complete impasse. And finally, I think Congress views the Fed as being complicit in the levering process, if you will, here in Washington.
Interesting.
Bill, you have studied the art of leadership quite intensely. I'm assuming that in this situation, the leadership has to default to the President of the United States. If you were in his shoes, regardless of your own political opinion, how would you marshal the forces? How would you go about getting a consensus and getting action, whatever that action might be?
Well, first of all, he's got the bully pulpit. The time to go give this speech, Salmon, is Labor Day. I gave a talk on your sister channel on the Today Show a couple of years ago saying it's a huge crisis. He's got to get to the people and put upward pressure on the politicians. But beyond that, back to Sue's question, 25 million people can't find full-time work if that isn't pressure. But I think there's so many things this president can do that are killing jobs to stop doing that, but encourage it, that he doesn't have to increase the deficit. We can't afford more deficits. We can't afford more federally funded jobs. We have to go out and take actions now to get the regulators out of people's hair, not just Boeing and AT&T, but all kinds of industries that want to hire right now, and we're standing in their way. We're making life difficult. We're sending key people overseas. So we need to bring those jobs back here and make it attractive again, and he needs a job czar. Somebody like Secretary of Commerce-elect or nominee John Bryson could get in there and really work with business to encourage hiring, not by deficit spending, but because the opportunities are there. But right now, no one seems to really care about this. They just want to fight with each other.
It'll be interesting to see. Go ahead, Andrew, very quickly.
I think it's a phenomenal point, and we need to move away from these transitory things and move towards structural changes in corporate tax reform, repatriation of income. These gimmicky, 6-month, 1 year, we'll see if we extend it kind of stuff is just not working. The president needs to come to the middle and say that he'll risk losing re-election to get this thing right, and that there's a tremendous amount of power in that kind of statement for this administration.
We will see what he says
and
next
Andrew's
week.
got the key. Andrew's got the key leadership point. The president needs to make some political sacrifices with the unions or whomever to get where we need to go and not just play the political game. He can do that.
And be prepared to lose is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, both. Appreciate
Thanks,
it
Sue.
very